Hi everyone. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about continuation betting, which is sort of the most popular type of bluff that you're going to come across in poker. So what a continuation bet is let's just say, for example, that you raise pre-flop, even if you have a good hand or if you're just trying to steal the blinds, whatever. So you raise pre-flop with your hand, and you get one or more callers of your pre-flop raise. So when the flop comes down, about 2/3 of the time, you're going to miss. So you're not going to hit a pair with whatever hand you have. But the same is true of your opponent. Whatever cards he's holding, he's going to miss the flop 2/3 of the time as well. So the idea behind the continuation bet is that you've shown some strength pre-flop. So I mean, you're the one who raised, so you're the one who's more likely to have a high pair, and therefore you continue that aggression on the flop. So you follow it up with a bet, and your opponent has unpaired cards. He's missed the flop, so he's just going to go ahead and fold a lot of the time to your bet. So sort of in the early days of online poker, where the games were quite passive, the continuation bet was hugely successful. So you could just pretty much, raise with any two cards pre-flop, bet the flop, and if your opponent continued, then he had something good. If he folded, then great, you win a small pot with very little resistance. But of course, poker's gotten a lot more difficult in the last few days, and even the worst players now have cottoned on to the fact that continuation betting is a good strategy. So now you can't get away with it quite as much as you used to be able to. So you have to be a little bit more judicious in when you choose to continuation bet and when you choose to just give up if you miss the flop after raising pre-flop. So what I try and tell people is to look at the texture of the flop, look at the cards that come down, and then decide to continuation bet. So I mean, if you've got pocket twos and the flop comes down 8, 9, 10, all hearts after your opponent calls you, I mean that's a case to wave the white flag completely. I mean, even if your pocket twos are still ahead of his ace queen of um, of clubs or whatever, he's got so much equity against you. He's got so many ways he can win the hand. He can hit his ace, he can hit his queen, he can hit a straight, and you could even be counterfeited with your pocket twos if the board pairs twice. So you're in really bad shape. So this is kind of a time to give up. So generally, if the board comes very dry, if there's straight draws and flush draws out there, you want to give up. And if the board is really dry and it looks like it hasn't hit your opponent at all, then this is the time to continuation bet. And the other thing to take into account when you're deciding whether or not to continuation bet is who you're up against. Some people just absolutely love to raise continuation bets, or to float, which means to call a continuation bet with the intention of taking the pot away from you on the turn or river. So some people love to play back at continuation bets. They never believe that anybody has anything. So they really fight for these small pots and try and win them. So against these guys, I mean, you're often better just picking your spots a little better. Don't continuation bet too often against them, but still enough to keep them off balance a little bit. So I've just got one sample hand here on the screen. I haven't talked about what's on the screen at all yet. So in this five-handed game, I think it's 5 cent, 10 cent blinds. Yeah, so this was a hand I played for a previous video I made. So I have ace 6 of diamonds in the cutoff seat here, so one before the button. So the guy in front of me folds. I raise to 30 cents, so standard, 3 times the big blind, raise in the cutoff here. And the guy in the button calls me. Now he's a little bit of a short stack, so he's only got 65 big blinds to start the hand. And as far as I know, both of the blinds fold. Okay, so I've got a decent-ish suited ace here, but unfortunately I'm going to be out of position for the rest of the hand. But nonetheless, we're going to see what the board brings here. So 9, 10, 3 rainbow board. So there's no flush draws out there, which is one good thing. I'm a little bit worried at this point about the 9 and the 10, because that makes a straight draw out of 7, 8. It makes a straight draw out of 8 jack, and it makes a straight draw out of jack queen. So they're all possible hands that he could call in position against me. And then of course he could have pocket 3s, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, or even 9, 10, all of which are way ahead of me here. But this guy, he's playing a slightly short stack. He was playing lots and lots of hands. So I just decided definitely he has more hands that completely miss this board than hands that hit it really hard. So I decided it was definitely a good spot for a continuation bet, particularly as I have some ways to win the hand. If he has a 9 or a 10, then I can hit an ace to take the lead on him. The board might come down a diamond on the turn and river to give me a flush, or it may even come 7-8 to give me a straight. Obviously, it's the bad end of the straight if I hit 7-8, but it still takes me in front of his 1 and 2 pair hands by the river. So I bet 50 into 75 cents, so 2/3 the size of the pot. So 2/3 is a pretty decent size on a fairly dry board like that, and I generally stick to that size continuation bet on this type of board. The guy calls me, which doesn't tell me nothing, or it doesn't tell me much, because he was playing quite passively for the entire game. So he's obviously got some piece of this board that he wants the continuation bet with. And the turn comes down a 7. Now again, it's not a fantastic card, but it does give me another chance to beat him. So if we do get the 8 on the river, then we take the hand off him with a straight, or we could beat him with an ace still, and he's still likely to only have a fairly weak 1 pair hand. He's not showing any strength. He's not showing any strength as such on the flop by just calling our bet, or pre-flop by just calling. And he's unlikely to have a hand like 10-7 or 9-7. They might be a little bit too weak for him to call a raise pre-flop with. So we're still pretty happy that he just has a 1 pair hand. So what I've decided in this hand, now this video I'm really just talking about pre-flop, or sorry, just continuation betting on the flop. But because I got some extra equity by having the possibility to hit my straight, and the fact that this guy was very passive and didn't show much aggression in the games and called the flop very lightly on a good few occasions, I decided to bet again. So again, just a little bit bigger than 2/3 the size of the pot to try and shake him off on the turn here. And again, he calls me, I think. So by this point, I'm pretty much going to give up. I mean, if he calls the flop, calls the turn, then I just don't see him folding most rivers. So I think a bluff on the river would be quite unprofitable. But one of our magic cards comes on the river, so we get the 8, we hit the straight, so we've got a straight 6-10. Now obviously any jack beats us, but this is the type of guy who's going to call us with any 7-8, 8-9, 9-10, 10 jack, and obviously 10 jack beats us, but any 2 pair hand he's going to call us with here. So I think our straight is good a lot more than it's beaten here, and also I think that he'll call a large bet with most of those hands. But on this occasion, I decided to check to him just to see what he does, and he bets the entire size of the pot, so a little bit less than his stack. And again, I think he's going to be doing this with hands much weaker than a straight. So the pot is laying us 2-1 here, so we've got to call 4-15 to win 9-30. So we need to only be good here a third of the time for our call to show a profit. So I decided on the basis of that to call his bet on the river, and he turns over 9-10. So he really let me into the pot there by just flat calling the flop and the turn with his 2 pair hands. So if he had raised at any point on the flop or the turn, I would have folded. But he made it cheap for us to see the river. We got there on the river and beat him with a straight. So this is just kind of one sort of interesting enough example of a continuation bet in action. So I'd advise you to just maybe go and listen to the start of the video again, just to get an idea of when you should and shouldn't be continuation betting, because it's a really important concept to get down in poker, because I mean, you don't see too many turns and rivers. Not too many hands go to the turn and river, but lots and lots of hands go to the flop in your average poker session. And being able to play those well and get comfortable in these continuation bet scenarios is really important for maximizing your win rate. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.